Hi, welcome to Storytelling with me, Alexis Latham. Storytelling, historically, it's one of the most powerful tools we have to engage people, focus them, and also to differentiate yourself when you're speaking to people. And in this series of tutorials, what I'd like to show you is how you can use some really simple tips and techniques from classical storytelling and use them to help structure and deliver your speeches, your presentations, and your meetings. We are all storytellers. I mean, you, me, every single one of us. It's a skill we've used and adapted and developed since we were really small. It's how we interact and interpret the world around us and how we interpret what is happening with us in this world. And in the words of the neuroscientist Tali Sharot, she says, our brains are wired for story. So when you communicate with people, and it's important, if you don't communicate and give them the story, they're going to be looking for the story. So without further ado, let's start. So now if you want to find some pens and papers to write down these things, now's the time to do it. In the first three tutorials, what I'm going to look at is the actual start, because I think this is it's the tricky part of it, it's the difficult part. And I'm going to look at something called the audience mindset. Now, what is that? Filmmakers, theatre makers like myself, we're very aware of the audience mindset. It's a very powerful thing that only happens when you get a group of people coming together to watch and listen to someone or something. That's the only time it will ever happen. Now, if you imagine you're going to run a meeting or you're going to hold a presentation, even if there's only going to be 5 people listening to you, and you've got 5 individual story worlds plus your story world or my story world, that makes 6 different worlds competing and trying to find some alignment at the beginning. So that's why the audience mindset is so powerful, because it can align and create a unity with all these different minds into one mindset. So let's look at how we can do that. And basically there's 3 questions you need to answer to create this audience mindset. The 3 questions are this: why am I here? Why should I listen? And how are you going to get me there? Those are the 3 key questions in the audience minds. And if you answer that, you've got this audience mindset. So let's look at that first question. Why am I here? Now, you might think to yourself, this is crazy, this is really stupid. I go to a meeting or I go and watch a film, I know why I'm here. And you're right, that's true, hopefully. The problem is that we need to check and align. It's a little bit like going to catch a train. Let's say you run to the station, you're going to St Pancras, you want to go to Brussels Midi, and you hear that the train for Brussels Midi is on platform 3. So you run to platform 3 and you get on that train. But when you get on that train, they've made a promise to you that the train is at platform 3. When you get on that train though at platform 3, you want to double check that they fulfilled that promise. And that's the same with us. You go and watch a movie about, let's say it's an action zombie thriller. Within the first 2 minutes of that film starting, you want to see or feel it or experience something that's going to tell you, yeah, this film is definitely going to be an action movie and it's going to be about zombies. And then you're aligned and you think, yeah, good, I like this. I can sit here and I'm going to give some time for this. So how can we do this? What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an example from a classic story. I'm going to tell you a story. And I'm going to try and answer this question for you. And by answering it, show you what you should be doing at the beginning. Okay? So here we go. I'm going to tell you a story about the sea. That's it. Now the key thing here is what I've done is I've put down a descriptor, the sea. And what happens, I think, in about 90% of people's minds when you do that is that they immediately start thinking about a sea, an ocean or a beach or something like that. What we do as humans is we start to model in our minds what we're hearing about out there. And so you imagine you've got those 5 and me 6 different mindsets coming in, As soon as I've said the C, suddenly we're all there. And I know, I can be pretty sure 90% of the people listening to me, they're all beginning to think about the same thing. And I've got everybody at the same starting point. That's the power of the descriptor. And it answers the question, why am I here? So how does that relate when we look at things like politics and business? Let me give you an example of a very famous speech by Winston Churchill in 1946. He was in Winchester, Missouri, and it's his famous "There's an Iron Curtain coming down across Europe" speech. Now, the speech was advertised about a new world order, that he was going to come and talk about that. And he arrives, and if you watch it, he improvises a little bit with his audience at the beginning. The star Winston is there, and there's a bit of chat. But then the speech starts. And it's pretty much something like this. He starts by saying, the United States is at the pinnacle of world power. That's it. Now, everybody in the audience knows then it's about being at the top of the world. And in their minds, they're now modelling it, the world being at the top of it. And they know he's talked about a new world order, and he's now reminded us that that's what we're here about and that we're at the top of that world order. And so everybody in the audience now knows that that is what the key focus is going to be centered around for his speech. It's like putting down a marker in the ground and saying, this is the beginning. Let's all start here. Let's all model it in our minds, and then you can start moving forward. That's the power of the descriptor. So now what I'd like you to do is try that. It's a very, very simple thing. But maybe you're aware that sometimes when you start your meetings or your speeches or your presentations, you don't always start with that one concrete descriptor. It makes it a lot easier for you, and it makes it a lot easier for your audience. And it answers that question, why am I here? And begins to align us for that audience mindset. So with your next meeting, speech or presentation, try that out. And in my next tutorial, I'll look at that second question of why should I listen? Good luck and see you soon.